Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Beth and today we are going to be talking about chapter 9 of Wired for Story by Lisa Crone. But first, check out my awesome shirt. If you didn't know I was Southern before now, bless your little heart. Alright, so chapter 9 is entitled What Can Go Wrong, Must Go Wrong, and Then Some. As always, we begin with the cognitive and story secret. So our cognitive secret is that the brain uses stories to simulate how we might navigate difficult situations in the future. And our story secret is that it is a story's job to put the protagonist through tests that even in her wildest dreams, she does not think that she can pass. Think of it as the children's book, Little Engine That Could. The little engine thinks that they can and has a goal and is going, and then about halfway up that hill they start to slide down. They're like, I can. Whoop, nope. And she starts thinking she can't get there, it's not going to happen. She pushes forward, she gets through it, she gets around it, she says, I think I can. She gets to the top of the hill, smooth sailing, right? And you have to make sure that your protagonist has I think I can, whoop, nope, yes, no moments. A lot of them. The brain doesn't ever do anything that it doesn't have to do. So the fact that we spend so much time on stories and we get dopamine as rewards for stories, not because we just wanted to have entertainment, because our brain doesn't want to have to think like that. Basically, it's so that we can live vicariously through other people, and then we don't actually have to get up and go and do all of those things, which many would probably kill us. So it's probably a good thing. All right. But as we go on through, it says your protagonist really and truly does have to suffer. Otherwise, not only will he or she have nothing to teach us, we won't have much reason to care about what happens to them either. And as much as you love your protagonist, your goal is to craft a plot that forces her to confront head on just about everything she spent her entire life avoiding, and the harder she tries, the harder it gets. You have to make sure that there's no right time, there's only now. You have to see that circumstances beyond your protagonist's control fling her out of her easy chair and into the fray. Story is an escalating dare, and its goal is to make your protagonist worthy of her goal. And the myth and reality for this chapter are pretty awesome. Number one, literary novels are character driven, so they don't need to have a plot. That is our myth. Our reality is that a literary novel has just as much plot as a mass market pot boiler, if not more, because literary novels are character driven, which means that you have to have more plot and more things to grab the reader than a big murder mystery, the mass market craziness, because that has a lot of action to grab us. But when it's character driven, you have to have something that will attract the readers, and if there's no plot, the reader doesn't want to stay. A story revolves around events that force the protagonist to come to grips with a difficult inner issue. And that is actually something that literary novels are more geared towards doing for us. So we're going to skip ahead. It says, while getting writers to punch, shoot, stab, and otherwise rough up their protagonists can be difficult, there's something even harder to get them to do, and that is to embarrass their hero. The word mortify originally meant to die, because that's pretty much what we want to do when we're embarrassed. You can heal from physical wounds, but the emotional ones from being embarrassed will stick with you for a really long time, and possibly forever. It can be a huge catalyst for change. And that's kind of what we're going for. So, constantly upping the ante gets the protagonist in shape, and the final hurdle at the end of the story is going to be impossibly high. They're not going to feel like they can do it. And things like mortifying your character, embarrassing them in the beginning or middle of the book, even towards the end of the book, can really push them so that they can be in shape to jump over the final hurdle and snatch that medal. So, You kind of have to make sure that your reader is following along and they can tell, sometimes even before your protagonist can tell, what the plan is and what they need to do. There are 11 do's and don'ts for undermining your character's best laid plans, and I'm just going to go over them very, very quickly for you. Number one, don't let your characters admit anything they are not forced to, even to themselves, because information is currency and it has to be earned. So nothing is free. Number two, do allow your protagonist to have secrets, but do not allow them to keep those secrets. We only keep secrets because we are afraid of what will happen or change if they are divulged. But don't make the reader work for it. Let the reader have the secret and feel her pain and her need to tell somebody else with her so they can feel that relief as well. Number three, do ensure that everything the protagonist does to remedy the situation only makes it worse. This is called irony. Number four, do make sure everything that can go wrong does, but don't let your protagonist in on it. So they actually think that they're going to make it better and this isn't going to go wrong and everything's going to be fine. And then it's wrong. In fact, it's practically guaranteed to make things worse. Bum, bum. Okay, number five, do let your character start out risking $1 but end up betting the farm. This pretty much means that it just keep making them escalate the trouble. Think of it as in here they talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where Cam is afraid to even breathe on his dad's Ferrari to begin with, and then at the end it smashes and he won't let Ferris take the fall for him because he's built his courage up at that point. So make sure that you are um, letting them take the risk and upping the ante. Number six, don't forget that there's no such thing as a free lunch unless, of course, it's poisoned. So everything has to be earned. Nothing can come easily. The protagonist has to work for everything he gets and often in ways that he does not anticipate. Number seven, encourage your characters to lie. In a story, characters who lie are the ones who catch our interest. A provocative lie can make even the most bland character intriguing because then we think, wonder what she's up to. Right, this means you have to let us know that the character is in fact lying. Number eight, do bring in the threat of a clear, present, and escalating danger and not just a vague facsimile thereof. Number nine, make sure your villain has a good side. A villain with a couple of good qualities might be redeemable, and this instills suspense and it makes people want to love your villain as much as they love your hero, possibly even more. I know that I am completely in love with Loki and with Tony Stark, both of whom have very similar personalities, really, if you think about it, except Tony chose the Avengers and Loki is still trying to take over and kick Thor out of power. Number 10, do expose your character's flaws, demons, and insecurities. Thomas Carlyle said, by nature, man hates change. Seldom will he quit his old home until it has actually fallen around his ears. The story is often about watching someone's house fall around their ears, beam by beam, until they have to leave and take care of their goals. It's your job to dismantle all the places where your protagonist seeks sanctuary and actively force him out into the cold. And finally, number 11, do expose your demons. A lot of the time, we pretend like we're protecting the protagonist, or he really doesn't have to go do that. We'll just make that an edge to the story. And really, we're hoping to avoid it ourselves because if our protagonist can be that seedy underbelly, if we can write about that, then what does that say about us? Story tends to be about the raging mess inside that we all struggle to keep under wraps. One of those things where we're trying to make ourselves look good and still write, and that's not going to work. We need to either make ourselves look good and not write at all, because what's the point in writing if we can't expose those things? Or we need to really dig deep and expose those things in our writing. And then we get to the checkpoint. So I'm just going to read them off for you again. Has everything that can go wrong indeed gone wrong? Have you exposed your protagonist's deepest secrets and most guarded flaws? I'm getting there. I'm only halfway through the book, so but I think we're getting there. I mean, we found love, found out they're werewolves, some jealousies. Yeah, I think we're working on it. Does your protagonist earn everything she gets and pay for everything she loses? I think so. Does everything your protagonist does make the situation better, actually making it worse? Not really, but we're getting there. And is the force of opposition personified, present, and active? Oh, yeah. And he has a couple of possibly redeeming qualities, which makes it interesting. All right, guys, that was chapter 9 of Wired for Story, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through the chapter chats. I will be back with chapter 10 soon. We are almost at the end, 3 more chapters to go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye.